It's the most wonderful time of the year. Or is it? Is it really, right? If you clicked on this episode, perhaps you are pulling your hair out or just wanting to scream at the top of your lungs from all the stress that you're starting to feel during this holiday season. If that is you, I can promise you, you are not alone. I remember when I first had a glimpse of just true chaos in a family back when I was nannying for families back in California, and very often during the holiday season was when I was called upon the most. Whether it was Christmas, holiday parties at school, or trying to get different families together and trying to honor different traditions, it is a season where, especially as a mom, just being totally blunt, you basically are pulled in a billion directions and you feel like it is your responsibility to make, well, a lot of people happy. But what about you? And how can you do that without losing yourself and while making sure that you actually enjoy this season too? That's what this episode is all about. In today's conversation, we're going to peel back the layers of just the total holiday experience, a blend that comes together with joyous celebrations, but also, let's just face it, let's call it what it is, might have you, a generous sprinkle of stress. I want you to go ahead and grab something that makes you feel good, that makes you feel warm. So whether it's a Snuggie, do they still make those? I think so. A warm cup of coffee, or just a space where you can call your own for the next 15 to 20 minutes. And we are going to embark on this heart-to-heart journey. My heart with your heart. We're going to figure this out together. We're going to unravel how you, yes, you, in your own home and your own experience can manage the stress during this holiday season and allow you to embrace it and feel the joy, despite how many kids or how young of kids you have in your household and how many family members you have pulling at your heartstrings right now. We are going to navigate this beautiful chaos together. Let's go, mama. Let's aim to make this holiday season a little bit more merry. Hey mama, welcome to the Energized Mama podcast, the podcast designed exclusively for moms navigating the challenging yet pivotal years of parenting children aged 5 and under. Are you longing to raise good, godly kids, all while preserving your own well-being and energy? Do you find yourself thinking, how can I keep up with my little ones, or how can I raise them to be loving and godly? I'm Cheyanne, and I've walked exactly in your shoes. Honestly, on some days, I'm still there. I know what it's like to face the daily demands of motherhood and wish for more energy to be the loving, godly mom I aspire to be. I've been there with a strong-willed toddler and a desire to balance being a devoted wife, a mom, a stepmom, and an entrepreneur. I'm here to tell you that it is possible to raise your children with strong values and boundless love, all while nurturing your own energy and well-being. In this podcast, you'll find valuable insights on managing your time and boosting your vitality. You'll gain practical tips for disciplining your children with grace and wisdom. And you'll join me in the journey of raising your kids to be good, godly individuals. My mission is to help you thrive as a mom while experiencing the joy of watching your children grow in faith and character. We'll explore how you can maintain your energy, because the most godly, loving mom is the one who takes care of herself too. So go ahead, mama, grab those headphones, pour yourself that refreshing green smoothie, and get ready to be #momspired, because rest assured, you're no longer alone on this incredible journey of motherhood. So today we're diving right in. On a lot of my episodes, if this isn't your first time listening to my podcast, you know that I like to typify things or give hacks because I'm all about keeping it really practical and tangible, right? I love a good conversation, but I'm really about helping give you solutions that work. So with saying that, today I don't necessarily have 5 tips of, how to de-stressify your Christmas season, but we are going to talk a little bit through a concept that I bring my audience and my clients through in the More Energized Mama method. And I'm going to take you through a little bit of an exercise, and so I can help you actually de-stress your holiday season by going through this little simple 3-step process. So very often what happens when we want to attack something in life, right? it can be very overwhelming to know where the heck to start. So first, I want to help you and maybe your friend that's listening, your sister that's listening, help you guys recognize your holiday stressors. So if you feel like it's a holiday hustle out there, right? Like if you feel like it's a marathon, you're not alone, okay? Because there really is, I know, a never-ending to-do list, and of course the pressure to have like Pinterest-worthy celebrations and have these epic, amazing, beautifully decorated homes that you may see on social media. So we're going to talk about first helping you recognize what is stressing you out. What is stressing you out? Not the why. We're not going to go there yet, but let's try to think about the things in your life right now that are stressing you out. So when I take my clients through this in my method, in my course, I always start with, let's first separate them. Let's make a list and let's separate these stressors and figure out what can you control versus what can't you control, right? And in order to get there, let's do a little bit of what is that called? A stress drop. Let's just think about all these things that stress us out during the holiday season. Everything from having to decide, right, who to visit, who to get presents for, and then how many presents to get for those people, including your children. How much do you decorate? Where do you decorate? Inside and outside? What holiday party do you commit to? Because there's always ones from your family, your work, your husband's work, your kids' schools. And then with these parties, how much do you actually make or bake for it? And how important is it that your kids look or dress a certain way at their holiday concert or for their holiday costume party at school, or say their door wins the decoration contest? If you have a kid in preschool or elementary school, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about in that one. And how to, at the end of the day, after all this stuff, right, all these things that are on your plate, I think a lot of us moms think about, well, in the midst of all this, how do I also help cultivate thankfulness in my family, right? How do I make sure that the holidays aren't just one big me, and all the focus is on stuff and presents in my child's heart? Well, if that's something that's on your mind, I do want to tune you into, I just did an episode specifically on that, episode 87. So this one's episode 88. So if you just scroll down, I have the link below, or if you go back to the main page of where you found this podcast, you can go right back to episode 87 and listen in there. It's really good. It's got some really tangible and tactical steps that you can do to make sure that your kids, in the midst of this chaos that is the holidays, and a lot of things that you can't control, is how inundated they are with stuff and materialistic things. How can you help cultivate their thankful spirit? So where were we, right? I was asking you all these questions because these are probably questions that are repeatedly back and forth on your mind, right? Trying to find the answers to all of it. So whatever of these questions resonated with you, maybe all of them, maybe just a few, I now want you to think about, what are your top stressors? What are the things, which one of those questions bothered you the most? Which one have you found yourself thinking of the most? And I want you to write that down, whether you can now or maybe later. When you get a chance, write that down. I'll tell you, while you're thinking about it, one of the top stressors for me right now is actually the subject of Santa Claus. Because for me, it felt like before I knew it, my eldest son is 3.5 and he is spending his first year in preschool here in the States. And now he's coming home and talking about Santa Claus all the time. And I know it's because even though his school is Christian, they are introducing the topic of Santa Claus in my son's life. And so they're singing songs about Santa Claus. He came home yesterday and said, "Mommy, Santa Claus is coming to our house on the 25th. And I was like, oh, he is now? And I was kind of shocked by this question because I wasn't prepared. My husband and I really hadn't talked about what we think about our children believing in Santa Claus. How do we want to introduce this? And sometimes as a mom, I feel like you think you have all this time in the world, and then boom, your kid shows you, hey, like, I'm there, like emotionally or spiritually, mentally, I'm there. And so whether or not you're ready, I'm ready, Mom. So that's something that, of course, the topic of Santa Claus that my husband and I have been discussing the past couple of days, and just trying to figure out, how are we going to handle that in our household? Are we going to let our children believe in Santa Claus? Are we going to have presents from there? How are we going to explain that? A lot of you who have listened to my podcast before know that my husband is Belgian, and we recently just immigrated from Belgium. And over there's actually a Sinterklaas Claus, and that day is celebrated on December 6th, and it's a very similar story to Santa Claus, but also actually a separate total person. So we have to do that 2 times. So I hope by hearing my story, something has sparked up in you, something that you have on your mind with the holidays, and why I want to bring it into your focus, because I want you now to ask yourself, are you putting these expectations on yourself? Like to do all of these things, to be all these things? Is maybe your family or your husband's family putting these expectations on you? Or is it purely just culture, right? It can be hard sometimes that you don't care about something or your family didn't celebrate something, and all of a sudden, like, I know one thing that comes to mind is to do the elf on the shelf, right? Like when I was a kid, there was no such thing as elf on the shelf. And then my family didn't do that. And now there's so many kids around talking about, oh, my elf visited, and you can feel this pressure to try to keep up with this and keep up with that. But I think it's really important that you ask yourself, what are realistic expectations you can have, right? So first, think about, what expectations are you putting on yourself? What can you control? What can't you control, right? There's some things that you just can't control, that maybe you have to show up at a certain holiday party, or there's something you signed up that you committed to, right? So it's about managing the things that you can control. And now ask yourself, what expectations are realistic? Is it very important that you have to make 100 cookies for your kids' holiday concert or party, or can you make less than that, or can you pass that off to another mom? Or how many presents do your children get? Did they each get 10 last year? Is it an awful thing if they only got 5 this year? Again, it's all these things to think about, and I can't give you the answer. What I can share with you, and what I'm going to dive into and the next segment, is basically how to have strategies for stress management. And one thing for sure that you can do is to bring these concerns to God. Bring them up to Him first and foremost. Ask Him to reveal in your heart which way you should go in each of these small and little decisions. I don't know what your relationship is with God and with prayer, but I do know that God wants us to come to Him for the big things and the small things. That's how a relationship is built, right? Think about your closest relationship in this life with a person. For me, it's my husband. And I think about how we continue to remain connected, but especially when we were first falling in love, it was all about sharing those little things, not just the big things. So make sure that you do share these little things with God, and I promise you, He is going to guide you and give you the light that's going to shine the path on your way. As we dive into our second segment here, as I promised you in the last segment, we're going to talk a little bit about strategies for stress management. And stress management around the holidays is not any different than any other type of stress management. So truly, I think one of the best things you can do is just figure out what helps de-stressify you. Not sure if that's a real word, but I'm going to throw it down today. What makes you feel better in an average everyday scenario when you're feeling stressed? Is it that you go grab a workout? Is it that you go pray? Is it that you spend some time getting alone somewhere, maybe going for a walk? Or are you someone that likes to practice yoga? Do you like to bake? How great if baking de-stressifies you. I know a few moms that tell me that cooking actually de-stressifies them. If you can blend some of those de-stressifying techniques with something that you also actually have to get done for the holidays, that's awesome. Some people see shopping as stressful. Some people see it as stress relief, especially if you can get there without your children, right? So this is definitely the season to ask for more help. That's one of the best things you can do for managing stress, is that you can go and ask for help. A lot of different places around your community could be hosting different holiday parties, different holiday celebrations, whether it's parades or it's tea parties or it's, pancake breakfast with Santa Claus or a living nativity. And sometimes these places actually offer free childcare or involvement with kids, and it may give you an opportunity to steal away some moments and go ahead and master that time that you do have, and making sure that you don't feel rushed when it comes to the end of the season. I would say right now, if you're listening to this episode when it first debuts, it's in the first week of December. So this would be the time to start writing down all the things that you need to do over the next few weeks. Instead of waiting, I am definitely not a spontaneity type person, just go with the flow. I can be, but I tend to be more of a planner. So that is what I want to encourage you to de-stressify your holidays. Start planning things out now. Start thinking about and looking at all of your commitments that are on your calendar and break them down in small, tiny steps. And of course, the ones that have something that's going to take longer to get to you or be a bigger shopping trip for, make sure you do those first. And don't forget to allocate things. Ask your husband for help. Ask your neighbors. Ask your friends, especially your mom friends. More than likely, you may be thinking, oh, but they have so much on their plate. But yes, you know what? Teamwork is what it's all about. Try to pull together and figure out, how can we make this work? How can we help each other out? Maybe it's you watch each other's kids when the other mom goes Christmas shopping, and then you switch when it's her turn to go Christmas shopping for her family. You watch her kids. And ultimately, at the end of the day, I think one of the best stress techniques, one of the best ways to manage stress during the holiday season, is to set boundaries. I promise you, mama, boundaries work magic. Remember that Christmas and Thanksgiving and this season come every single year. So prioritize what you find to be the most important, right? What is the most important for your family for the season that you're in? How old are your kids now? What would they enjoy the most? I know right now, we kind of have a hard time with this because we have a wide age range of kids. We have a teenager, she's going to be 15 by the time Christmas is here. And then we have a 3.5-year-old and a 6-month-old. So sometimes it's a little wonky when we're trying to figure out what to do as a whole family. But especially with our 2 littles, or a 3.5-year-old, this is when Christmas is just so magical. Trying to figure out things that he would like to do now that he's getting into that. We're not so worried about our 6-month-old one. He'll get there someday. And our teenager, she's kind of in that season where she's now able to be reflective and remember, when what it was like and what she appreciated about Christmas when she was little, and kind of seeing it through her brother's eyes. So again, we're trying to prioritize, say, something that is like a free pancake breakfast with Santa versus this like beautiful free orchestra concert, which is amazing, but maybe not suiting our family's needs right now. So remember and really learn how to practice to say no gracefully to commitments that ultimately are going to drain your energy. That's something I really emphasize in the Energized Mama method as well, is, it's really important to learn your no and learn when to say it and draw the boundaries, and know that boundaries are really the key to helping you accomplish more and be exactly who you want to authentically be in any given moment. Because when you are stretched too thin, you just can't possibly do it. And we want to set you up for success so that you can go through this season and actually enjoy it, and not just actually go through it, right? You're going to go through it, but we want you to be able to enjoy it as well. And that's what reminds me, a perfect segue into the last segment that I have for you today. I've got something really special to share with you. Motherhood is a wild ride, right? I mean, it sure is. That's probably why you're listening to this podcast right now. I mean, we're juggling a million things, trying to keep our kiddos alive. And let's not forget about that elusive thing called, air quotes, self-care. But here's the deal, mama. You deserve more than just survival mode. You deserve to thrive. Now, I'll be completely honest, I do not have a magic wand to make the chaos disappear, if only, right? But what I do have is something pretty incredible that can help you find more energy, focus, and joy in the midst of the beautiful chaos. It's called the Energized Mama method. I designed this with moms of little ones in mind because, well, I'm there too. I am in the trenches with you. I get the sleepless nights, the sticky fingers, and the endless whys. And in this course, we're not just talking about managing the chaos. We're actually doing a deep dive into how you can create a life that feels energizing, purposeful, and yes, joyful. Now, here's the exciting part. For the entire month of December, anyone who joins the Energized Mama method with me is not only getting a roadmap to reclaim their energy, but they'll also receive a free copy of my brand new cookbook and devotional called Need and Know. Picture this: healthy recipes your kids will love with a side of soul-nourishing goodness. And because I believe in spreading the joy, you'll also get a complimentary coloring book to keep the little ones entertained. So mama, if you're ready to ditch the exhaustion and step into a life that's vibrant and fulfilling, this is officially your invitation. Head over to energyformoms.com or click the link below to join, and let's embark on this journey to an energized, joyful motherhood together, because you deserve it. So lastly, on this podcast today, I'm going to spend just a few moments to talk to you about embracing something that I find to be so crucial in my life, and it reminds me about my beautiful grandmother who passed away a little over a year ago. So this will be our second Christmas without her, and it reminds me of her because it was actually her name. So if any of you maybe know me personally or have listened to some of the podcasts before where I've talked about her, my grandma's name is Grace. And so I want to implore you, maybe even challenge you to embrace the concept of grace this season. I'm always reminded of the Bible scripture that says freely given, freely received, right? So we freely receive or can receive God's grace, and then we thus must freely give it. And yes, maybe we need to give that to our toddlers during this season, maybe to an overbearing mother-in-law. But the grace I'm thinking about is the grace that you need to give yourself, because truly grace, it's not just a beautiful word. It really is like a lifeline during hectic times, because it really is the only option sometimes. When we have things out of our control, it can be absolute madness in the holidays, and grace can actually transform your entire experience, okay? So what I want you to do is really to embrace grace, to really give yourself the grace when things don't work out the way that you want or you expected, or when you feel disappointed in something. Just remember to look at yourself through the lens of God, and also through the lens of your family, because I promise you, if you're like almost 99.9 of every other % of moms out there, I promise you we are 10 billion times harder on ourselves than our kids and our husbands ever are. So please definitely infuse grace into your daily chaos of your lives. If you feel like you are needing grace and you're wanting more grace in your life and you're really struggling and you don't know how to make that a daily practice, this is an open invitation for you to come join my Facebook group. It's totally free. You can find us at momnationcommunity.com, because my heart and soul really is to build a nation of moms, a community of moms that are like-minded and that encourage one another, that infuse positivity into each other's lives. We are faced all the time with judgment and with comparison, especially during the holidays, trying to, whether it's something that we see, consciously or not, we're so much in competition with each other, and it can be overwhelming and exhausting. In this community, it's about connection and it's about encouragement. So if you need an ounce or a gallon of grace this season, and you just need to be surrounded with other women that remind you like, hey, our Christmas tree looks like crap too, or our presents are not perfectly wrapped. We did not win the ugly Christmas sweater party, contest. That is okay. Please do yourself a favor. Come find us on Facebook, momnationcommunity.com, and you can always go just to the show notes below, and I've included a link below for you to get there nice and easy. And that's a wrap. Hey, I've got to use all the puns I can in this Christmas season, right? Well, before you wrap up more Christmas presents, please remember to give yourself some grace. This is truly a wild ride, and you really got to let that self-love and grace be your compass during this holiday season. Don't forget, as you sail through it, extend that grace to yourself and to others. I just want to say thank you so much for tuning in. I pray that this heartfelt conversation really impacted you, and I would love to hear from you. I'd love to hear about the biggest takeaways that you had, or something that you want to add to the conversation, because I love featuring comments by listeners on my podcast. So the only way I can do so is if you give me a shout out, let me know. Some of the best ways you can do that are coming to, again, join that free Facebook community at momnationcommunity.com. Come leave an Apple podcast review. If you're listening on Apple, just scroll down to the bottom of this episode and hit write a review. And you can also come find me on social media. Pretty much everywhere that you can find me is going to be under the name Cheyanne Clayman or the Energized Mama. So Big hug from me to you. Give yourself a break, Mama. Know that you're doing an amazing job, and I wish you an absolutely magical, beautiful start to December. And I'll see you on the upcoming episodes where I'm going to be focusing so much on how to grow through the holiday season, how to invoke really wonderful and beautiful Christmas traditions in your family, and how to get through this season in pure joy and pure excitement and set yourself up for that new year feeling ready to thrive. All right, mamas, absolutely adore you. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Energized Mama. I'll see you on the next one.